Hey everybody, sorry about kind of cutting out pretty quickly on you there on that last video. So, as you saw at the end of the last video, we tried to get into our map and it was not working. So, what we actually had to do was I had to go on the Discord servers and I had to ask the other mods what went wrong, because I couldn't figure it out by looking at my properties, my map properties, and my object properties. And what ended up happening was I had to have one of the other modders download my mod and look at it. And that took a while because they have to be able to load it into their game and run through it to try to see if there's anything wrong with it, or to see what exactly is wrong with it, because obviously something was wrong with it. So what had happened was, actually when we were making this content.json, I actually copied some of my other ones and then renamed it, but I renamed it wrong. So this warp that we have here on our main map wouldn't work. It didn't exist because it was written in this content JSON incorrectly. So now that we have fixed it, and this should be exactly the same as what we have in our warp, we're going to try again and we will see how it works. So we're warping to our map, and we're gonna try again, and let's see if we can get in. Aha! We're in! Hey, look at that. And now, since we're in the house, we can play test and see if everything works correctly. So there should be a tile data right here we can click on. And this door works. Hey, look at that. And here we have our bookcase with our little line about JoJo warehouses that we did in the very first video. Look at that, that's nice. And if we did this correctly, your character should be able to walk in here and get in the bed. Which means that your NPCs will be able to do that as well. This room doesn't have a door yet, and I'll have to put in that door, but the bed does work, so you can put the bed, you can get in bed with whatever NPC is in here. Alright, turn the music down a little bit. And yeah, so it looks like we're pretty well play tested here. Now, one of the things that I'm going to show you is these day-night tiles that we worked with last time. And what I have is a mod that allows me to basically skip time. And it's called CJB Cheats Menu. And I'm going to put it to 7 o'clock. And that means it's nighttime. We're going to speed up time a little bit. There we go. So once this ticks over to 8 o'clock, we should see these tiles differ. We should see these tiles for our windows turn to night. Basically because the sun went down. But I think the game froze. It did freeze. So it locked up. Well, that means we messed up. And I'm gonna... Yeah, there we go. Hey, it worked. Alright. So it just froze for a minute. It didn't crash or anything, but it was frozen for a minute. But as you can see, it turned 8 o'clock and those windows went dark because outside the sun went down. And now, hopefully, we can just leave. Hey, there we go. That's pretty good. I think I'm going to move this warp tile down a little bit so that you actually have to walk down that area. And by the way, I have a little video up of this dog right here. And her little animation is so cute. She wags her tail and she doesn't pant, but she opens her mouth and smiles at you. I was actually very proud of that one. So yeah, now we have that area. And it looks fabulous. I think it looks pretty good anyway. And now we can exit out of that. So one of the other things that I noticed when I was trying to troubleshoot was one of our map properties was the doors property. And the doors property, I actually didn't have an S at the end of that. And you have to have an S at the end of that. It has to be capital D-O-O-R-S. And I actually had that wrong. So our doors would not have worked if I had not fixed that. So I fixed that. And that was very good. Now, I don't think I have anything else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this warp tile down one. Because this is 321 and this is 322. So I want to have the back area be this black tile here. So it kind of looks like you're walking off the into the void basically. And I don't want to have any black tile right here. And I don't know if there was one, but I just kind of ran the eraser over it just in case. And as you can see, it deleted the tile down there, but we don't need to delete that one. We just need to delete this one. So we're going to go to 322 instead of 321. So that way it doesn't warp you out as soon as you walk past this area. You're going to have to actually walk down in between these two walls in order to exit out of the map or the house. One of the things that you are going to get frustrated about in Tiled, I don't know if you can hear my dog snoring, but she is snoring up a storm. One of the things you might get frustrated about in Tiled is the things only being one way. And as you can see, the couch only faces to the left. And you say, well, what if I want the TV on the left and the couch on the right? Well, in Tiled, you actually have the ability to flip things. And I just learned this, so I've been doing all of my maps without this knowledge. So it's been frustrating. But you actually have the ability, if we take this couch, you can click X and it will flip it horizontally. You can also do Y and flip it vertically, which doesn't work for the couch unless you have an upside down house, or I guess maybe a couch on the ceiling or a couch on the wall, maybe? I don't know. But you can also use Z to rotate it, so it's facing different ways like that. And that's especially useful when you've got walls that you're working with, because like this, it doesn't work in that particular area, but if I was to put this here and my wall was facing the opposite way, maybe I wanted it right here instead, then I could click Y and make it a closing bracket on this area instead. So that's pretty neat, and I'm glad that I learned that, because it was frustrating not being able to turn things the appropriate way. And I believe I'm going to try something real quick, and we'll play test it and we'll see if it works. I don't actually know if it will, but there should be tiles on here where I can have these lights in their off position during the day. And the hope is that they will turn on at night using this paths. And number 8. This adds a light map property with light type 4. I don't know if it will only work after nighttime, but we can try it. If not, there may be some way to get this to work with the day-night tiles. I haven't done that yet, so we will just have to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to play test. We're going to run all the way to 8 o'clock and see if those lamps turn on. That's my NPC. You can see her walking. She looks so cute. I love her. I do have to rename her though, because apparently there's another NPC on another popular mod that has her name. And I will tell you one thing, if you have an NPC that looks or has the exact same name, it doesn't matter what they look like. It can look exactly like, you know, even the vanilla characters, like it could look exactly like Alex or George, and it wouldn't matter as long as they had a different name. But if they have the same name, some of the programming won't work, which is kind of a pain in the butt. Why is that there? Oh, I see. What has happened is when I use that tile on the tile sheet, is this is actually part of a lamp. So it is showing the entire lamp. It's showing the entire lamp sprite, which is definitely interesting, but not what we want. But let's go ahead and skip time and see if it turns on, and then, you know, we'll go from there. And once we do that, then we can see that it turns on at least. Haha! Success! Our lights have officially turned on. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So, we apparently know now that those lights do turn on if we originally put them in the off sprite sheet, but we also need to find a different sprite for our lamps. We need to find a different tile for our lamps, because this one is a full lamp, and for whatever reason it is connecting those two even though it should not. So that's fun. It's not really that fun. We got to figure out a different one, but that's, you know, it's not that hard. It's just looking through the tile sheet. So let's go ahead and do that. I wonder what other lamps there are. I think this is a daytime lamp. Just a regular lamp. Let's try this one and see if it works. And I'll pause you so you don't have to look through this mappy right now. Okay, so we are back, and I have looked at our tiles, and I found this little lamp. It looks like this little lamp doesn't show that bottom part of the lamp. This one doesn't either. It's the same tile, but I think that before I had these on the building layer. Some of these lights were on the building layer. And that meant that I think they thought since they were a building tile, they had to have two building tiles on here. I'm not entirely sure if that was the problem. But right now, these ones seem to work fine. They seem to be, you know, wall sconces without the lamp bottom attached. So let's see if they'll light up once we get to 8 o'clock. And it looks like they do, and so does this one. So either way, it looks like they all light up, so that's pretty cool. And I just figured that out because I always put them on the on tile sheet on the tile, but that may have been doing it wrong. This one doesn't seem to be on. I wonder if these ones are... Yeah, those ones are on. This one isn't. I wonder why. Maybe I don't have the paths layer set up correctly. let's go look at it. It looks like it should be right. Yeah, it looks like it should be right. And that's on the paths layer. I wonder why that one isn't working properly. This one is also on the building layer. So as you can see, this particular wall sconce is on the building layer, and they don't work on the building layer apparently. So let's try this. Where is that little light we were just using? Here it is. Put that one there. Save that. And then it won't change anything right now because we're in our game and Smappy has already loaded this map. So it is not going to reload this map. And I don't think it'll reload it when I go back in. It might break my game, so let's see. Oh, it didn't. But it also didn't reload. I think it only reloads every time you open the game itself. But yeah, and another one that we have here is these lights up here. These lights up here are lit up too. So that's pretty cool. Let's get out of here. And now we're back on our tiled map. One of the things that's very cool that you can do with tiled is an animation, which I am going to do a video specifically for. So watch out for that one. That one's going to be pretty cool. I think that this particular one is done for this kind of tutorial. And I think it looks pretty good. I think our new house looks pretty great. And eventually we will have to figure out how to move NPCs in here. And that'll be a whole nother little adventure by itself. As you can see in my videos, I have one NPC currently that is in the town. She walks around and she, for the most part, just stands there. But she's looking pretty fabulous. I have to work on her. I have to flesh her out some more because she doesn't have a ton of scheduling or dialogue yet. So she's kind of just a playtesting character. And she works in the game and she shows up in the game, but we have to worry about having more variety in her life, because I think right now she only says about 4 different things, which would get very boring for the player very fast. One of the things that I want to address before I leave is tile sheets when you're creating maps. Some of these tile sheets, as you can see on here, have this little spring in front of it. If you are making an outside map, or even if you're making an indoor map that changes with the times, you'll notice some of the original tile sheets in your content folder for the original game are going to have spring, summer, winter, fall in front of the name of the tile sheet. And this is so that basically your town's going to look different depending on what season it is. You know, in the fall, your grass is going to be kind of brownish because it's fall time. And in the winter, your grass is going to end up white because it's going to be snow. So you want to plan for that. And if you have a spring tile sheet, you need to also have a summer, fall, and winter tile sheet. You can't just have a spring tile sheet. You can just have a tile sheet that doesn't have any time frame attached to it. But if you have the word spring in front of it, you have to modify the map and save it as a different tile sheet in order for it to work correctly. And there are some places like the Calico Desert that don't have that effect. You know, it's just hot and deserty all year round. But most other maps adjust to the changing seasons. So you'll get a lot more flowers in the spring sometimes on maps, or like I said, you'll get crunchy leaves in the fall and yellow grass, and in the winter you'll have snow on the rooftops and you'll have snow on the ground. So you have to plan ahead for that when you are making your tile sheets. And when you're using the regular tile sheets from the base game, it will automatically do that for you as long as you put that little dot in front of it like I showed you. But if you don't do that, then you may end up not being able to load your game in a later season. I had that issue where I had one character who was in spring and one character who was in fall. And I was playtesting with both of them. And my map, when I went to my town, was just a big black void. And that's because I didn't have a fall tile map. So my game's tile sheet did not exist in the fall. So that's another thing that you have to keep an eye out for. And that's another thing that you're going to have to kind of draw for yourself if you have a brand new tile sheet that is not a base game tile sheet. So that's something to keep in mind. It's something I wanted to bring up before I end this little map building exercise. When you're inside houses, it usually won't be a problem unless you have things like particular people who decorate. You know, if you have a file where one of your NPCs decorates every year, every different season. Like it'll have different flowers set up in the spring and maybe a surfboard in the summer, and then maybe Halloween stuff like a pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern in the fall, and then like a Christmas tree in the winter. So you might have those sort of things inside your homes if you choose, but I don't believe most of the inside stuff for the base game have that. It's mostly for outside. So keep that in mind when you're making your sprite sheets or your tile sheets. If you're making custom-made tile sheets, like this tile sheet right here is something that I've made myself. And a lot of it is recolors or using different like images used in different ways. Some things you can't set on top of tables because they don't line up correctly, which is kind of annoying. Like this pot, I would not be able to put it up here on top of this little cabinet. So sometimes you have a different tile sheet that just adjusts these. And you can do a tile offset for this, but I don't know how to do that yet. So I just use separate tile sheets. And it's probably not the best way to go about it, but that's what I end up doing. And I think that's going to be it for this one. I think that I'm going to wrap this one up. And hopefully next time I will have something new to show you guys. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Thank you for watching.